On Friday, we're heading to Total Boat, and we're gonna hang out with some of our friends there, and we're putting together a Christmas village kind of thing that's gonna have a miniature train set boat thing. It's gonna be really fun. And I think that everybody is doing a miniature scale version of their shop to then put in the village. So that means this week, I'm gonna put together a little miniature maker's workshop to bring. Yeah. And this time I'm gonna use not gingerbread, should make it a little easier. Although I did debate doing it in gingerbread, and then I quickly thought better thoughts. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna laser cut this out of a 1/4 inch thick mulberry sheet. I'll link these in the information of this video. And while that sanding is happening, here's a photo of our shop. If you're not familiar, it's in a strip of like industrial building, so I'm gonna do a rectangular section, I think. And here's the design that I put together. I went with solid mulberry to laser cut this from because it looks yellow as you're working with it, but as the color develops, it turns to more of a deep coppery tone that I think kind of looks like brick. So it's a good base layer, but if you think back to that picture of the shop, there's actually layers of textures going on. And it took me a little bit of thinking to figure out the order to do things between painting, laser cutting, and sanding, but this is what I came up with. We're gonna do 3 different effects all in one laser cut panel. I'm starting by getting a layer of gray spray paint down on this panel that's going to be concrete. And after that dried, I removed my painter's tape to reveal a really nice crisp edge. This is going to be important for the next step. So the next step is laser engraving. So I want to get masking material down on top of all of this, but I need to know where that crisp edge is because I'm going to need to align my design with that edge in order to pull off the effect. So as I was getting the layer of masking down, I went in with a Sharpie to give myself a guideline to go off of. With the masking down, this could finally head over to the laser and I can prep my cut. In my laser cutter, I was outlining just the section that is the concrete texture over and over and over again until I had it precisely lined up with that spray painted line. And then I was also outlining the full piece that I'm cutting just to make sure it's going to fit nicely on the sheet. And then it was go time. So as you can see here, I'm starting with an engraved pass that's all my different textures. The first of which being the concrete that's directly over that gray spray paint, which then shifts to recessed subway tile spots right at that line. Also, you'll notice this is quite smoky. It really shouldn't be that smoky, but we had issues with our air assist. It was beginning the slow decline to total failure right about now. It has since been fixed, but yes, it is smokier in there than it should be. And the third texture is brick. With all of that engraved, I then set it to do the outline cut. All right, now let's focus on that strip of subway tiles. They're recessed engraves that I want to make white. So I'm leaving all the masking material from the laser cutter on this, and now I'm just adding some over the borders because I don't want to get any spray paint on the surrounding textures. And I'm just going in with the paint here and being pretty heavy-handed with it. As I was doing this, the following sheets of mulberry were cutting in the laser cutter. Again, much smokier than it should be, but makes for dramatic video. The engraves take quite a bit of time, so, makes it easier to multitask. Once the spray paint had started setting up a bit on the subway tile, I could remove the laser masking material so the grout between tile areas is that raw mulberry color. From here, it was a matter of working through all four sides. It took quite a bit of time, actually, and again, with the air assist not at its best self, cuts that regularly would go really quickly in one pass, I was needing to do like slowly in 3 passes, and they weren't even going through all the way. It wasn't too big of a deal, though. I just cleaned it up on our bandsaw, and, the box joints were fine. And I was pretty happy with how I was able to mimic the textures of the building. So at this point, I thought, why not add some cute little details? So I started just using some scrap pieces of acrylic and stuff to make it look more like Maker's Workshop. So this black acrylic is going to be our sign. I vinyl cut some white vinyl in the exact design of our sign, just smaller. And then I used more painter's tape, the true MVP of this project at this point. And I used that as transfer tape to then get it down onto the black acrylic. And there's little doors and windows and our street number all cut from the mulberry scraps that I wanted to have prepped before arriving at Total Boat. Here's the board we're turning into a Christmas village. The miniature Maker's Workshop is going to be going together with primarily 4-minute epoxy. It's a 2-parter that gets stirred together until it's clear and then can be applied and hardens in about 4 minutes, as the name suggests. This is a great option for box joints because it dries clear, so if I smudge it a little bit, it's not so big of a deal. You've probably noticed that I laser cut little holes around the top rim of this. This is for little LED lights that I'm going to position and wire into place. My friend Dre's helping me with this. These are flashing, colorful LEDs, which I thought would be really fun. And because we're working on a time crunch, I thought I was really smart using breadboards and pre-prepped wires to wire this all together. But once I snapped in place, it didn't end up working, and I didn't feel like spending the time to figure out why. It would have been cool, it would have been fine, but it was time to get this all positioned on the Christmas village. These beautiful rolling hills are carved out of Total Boat flotation foam, and Michael is expertly carving a seat for Maker's Workshop, overlooking the beautiful epoxy harbor. Also, Michael made that lighthouse, which is really cool. And I just used a battery-powered string of lights around the top, but whatever, it's fine. I laser cut a little boat and some sharks. That became a shark attack scene And as always, if you want to check out the file sets for the building with the different building textures or get some solid hardwood laser ready sheets, you can check out makersworkshop.com.